everyone? This is Eric with Just One Man's Opinion Sports Edition, and I want to thank you guys for tuning in this morning. It's a sensitive subject for me today, talking about Randy Moss and the case for him to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I was up last night, this morning, listening, reading reports that there's doubt that Randy Moss, there's doubt on whether or not he'll be inducted tomorrow on Selection Saturday. And so I wanted to take the time to put this video out there. It's my understanding that each semifinalist will have a presenter tomorrow that will present their case for Hall of Fame induction to the Hall of Fame Selection Committee. And so I just wanted to take the opportunity to put this video out there a day early. I'm hoping that NFL fans around the nation, I'm hoping that Vikings fans around the country see this video, and if you agree, I hope you share it. I hope you share it on whatever social media that you have, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, share it with your friends, your family, other football enthusiasts, co-workers. I think that too often us as fans, we don't make our opinions, we don't voice things that we know are right with the Hall of Fame. And the Hall of Fame, we've gotten it wrong. We've gotten it wrong. And so I just wanted to take the opportunity to hopefully give you guys a different perspective on Randy Moss's career. Full disclaimer, my love for football, my love for the NFL, my love for the Minnesota Vikings is due in large part to Randy Moss. That's my favorite player. It's my favorite player in history. And Randy, if you're seeing this video, I just hope I do you justice. I hope you don't take any offense to me putting out this video. I hope you don't take any offense to anything that I say. I just would regret it if I see another player deserving of first ballot Hall of Fame induction not inducted and I don't lend my voice to the cause. So I just want to get into a couple of facts here. Obviously, everyone knows about Randy Moss being second all-time in reception touchdowns. We know about Randy Moss being fourth all-time in reception yards, previously third, but Larry Fitzgerald this year recently passed him on that particular list. Okay, everyone knows that, those particular numbers. All right. I believe the issue with wide receivers in general getting inducted into the Hall of Fame is that there is a real difficulty with judging the wide receiver stats in the modern era. In this offensive mindset, this pass first offensive mindset that the league has become, there's real difficulty in judging wide receiver numbers. And so being second in reception touchdowns or being fourth all-time in reception yards, it does not mean the same thing that it meant, say, 20 years ago. I completely understand, and that's why I want to go a different direction in evaluating Randy Moss's career. Okay? I want to compare Randy Moss's career to the other modern NFL wide receivers that have been inducted into the Hall of Fame. And when I say modern wide receivers that have been inducted into the Hall of Fame, I'm talking about the 11 wide receivers who started their career post-1970. Okay? There's 11 wide receivers that have been inducted into the Hall of Fame that have started their career post-1970. I don't want to compare touchdown totals. I don't want to compare reception yard totals. What I want to compare is how often were they special? How often was that wide receiver a statistical leader among their peers who played under the same conditions that they played? I think that's the perfect way to evaluate any player. How dominant were you among your peers who played under the same conditions? Okay, so let's just talk about it. Let's talk about some of those Hall of Famers, okay? Two Hall of Famers that were inducted, all right, in the Hall of Fame, Andre Reed and Tim Brown, all right? I want you guys to look at this comparison, okay? Randy Moss, 4 first-team All-Pro selections. Okay? He's been second or third in approximate value one time in his career. If you're not familiar with the approximate value stat, that's a stat that Pro Football Reference puts out. It's an attempt to evaluate the value of a player every season since 1960. I believe it's a great indicator of a player's value to their team, although who's to say they would have had the same value on another team? Okay, whatever. Randy Moss has been second or third in value to his team at least once, according to Pro Football Reference, okay? He's led the league in all-purpose touchdowns one time. He's been second or third in all-purpose touchdowns another 2 times throughout his career, okay? He's led the league in reception touchdowns 5 times. He's been second and third in reception touchdowns another year. He's been second or third, in reception yards 5 times, all right? And he's been second or third in points scored, all right? Usually that's a stat that only kickers achieve 1 time in his career. Those are, that's the list of statistical leadership that Randy Moss was able to achieve compared to his peers who played under the same conditions. If you look at Andre Reed, Hall of Famer Andre Reed, great wide receiver. He doesn't have anything in those categories. Not a single first-team All-Pro. Okay? Never led the league in reception touchdowns or yards. He was never a statistical leader among his peers, yet he's in the Hall of Fame. All right? Look at Tim Brown. Tim Brown, Hall of Fame, once again, great wide receiver. Not a single first-team All-Pro. Not a single first-team All-Pro selection throughout his long career. He did lead the league once in all-purpose yards. He did do that. And he was second or third in reception yards for 1 year. The great Tim Brown doesn't even begin to compare to the statistical leadership that Randy Moss had displayed over the years. I want to look at another 2 Hall of Famers. Let's look at Art Monk and James Lofton. Okay? Both were selected first-team All-Pro once. Not the 4 times that Randy Moss has been selected, but once. Okay? Art Monk has been second or third in reception yards 1 time throughout his career. James Lofton, second or third in reception yards 3 times throughout his career. Again, doesn't even begin to have the resume of statistical leadership that Randy Moss has. Yet those 2 are in the Hall of Fame, and they deserve to be. They deserve to be. Don't get me wrong whatsoever. I'm just comparing these Hall of Famers to Randy Moss. I got another 2 Hall of Famers for you, okay? John Stallworth and Lynn Swann. I understand they played on the same team and they took away from each other at times. But I just want, again, at the end of the day, let's take hypotheticals out of it. Let's take belief out of it. What did you accomplish on the field? John Stallworth and Lynn Swann, they accomplished 1 first-team All-Pro selection each. That's what they accomplished, okay? John Stallworth, second or third in reception touchdown once in his career, okay? Second or third in reception yards another 2 seasons, all right? Lynn Swann led the league in reception touchdowns once. Second or third in reception touchdowns another year. Doesn't even begin to compare to the statistical leadership that Randy Moss displayed throughout his career. Again, Randy Moss led the league in reception touchdowns 5 times. Second or third in reception yards 5 times. He's been an all-purpose touchdown leader. That's Randy Moss. That's his statistical leadership. Okay? Forget the totals. Forget the totals. How special were you compared to your peers? Okay? How special were you compared to your peers? Randy Moss, compared to his peers, was way more excellent than the great Andre Reed, Tim Brown, Art Monk, James Lofton, John Stallworth, or Lynn Swann, all Hall of Famers. All Hall of Famers. let's look at Steve Largent and Michael Irvin. Again, both first team All-Pro selection each, just one time. Okay? Michael Irvin, at the least, has been second or third in approximate value according to Pro Football Reference. Okay, I give him that. But Michael Irvin has only led the league in reception yards once, been second or third in reception yards another 2 times, was never a statistical leader in reception touchdowns. Never. Not once. Okay? Not once. Again, Randy Moss, 5 times second or third in reception yards, 5 times leading the league in reception touchdowns. If you look at Steve Largent, 3 times he was second or third in reception touchdowns throughout his career. Twice he led the league in reception yards. Another year he was second or third in reception yards. You guys, I'm just asking you guys to do the math. You cannot tell me in a side-by-side comparison that any of those Hall of Famers that I have brought up so far even begin to compare to the statistical leadership that Randy Moss has displayed when comparing them to their peers. You're not blind. You understand the stat. Randy Moss has been selected one of the 2 best wide receivers in the league 4 times throughout his career. Michael Irvin, the playmaker, Hall of Famer, has that honor only 1 time. Steve Largent, Hall of Famer, has that honor only 1 time. I want to get into a little bit of a closer comparison. A couple other big names here. Hall of Famer Marvin Harrison. Hall of Famer Chris Carter. Okay? Chris Carter, 2-time first team All-Pro selection. 2 times he's been second or third in all-purpose touchdowns. He's led the league in reception touchdowns 3 times. He's been second or third in reception touchdowns once. I'm a huge Chris Carter fan. I'm a huge Minnesota Vikings fan. Again, Chris Carter does not begin to have the record of statistical accomplishment, the record of statistical leadership among his peers that Randy Moss has. Marvin Harrison, who had the luxury of playing with Peyton Manning, one of the all-time great quarterbacks. Ladies and gentlemen, 3 first-team All-Pro selections. Led the league in reception touchdowns once. Second or third in reception touchdowns another 6 years. Led the league in reception yards twice. Second or third in reception yards twice. That's Marvin Harrison. Again, does it begin to compare to Randy Moss and his... Well, actually, it is a little bit closer. I take that back. It's closer. It's closer. But you guys can do the math. You guys got eyes. Which one is more impressive to you? Of course it's Randy Moss. Of course it's Randy Moss. Ladies and gentlemen, that's 10 Hall of Famers that have been inducted in... That's 10 Hall of Famers that have started their career since 1970 in the modern era that have been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Randy Moss has the resume to outmatch any of them. That's 10 of the 11. I'm going to get to the 11th in a second. Okay, I'm going to get to the 11th in a second, but I want to change gears real quick. Let's look at the wide receivers that are also semi-finalists with Randy Moss this year. Okay? You got Isaac Bruce and you got Terrell Owens. First things first, Isaac Bruce. All right, you and Torrey Holt with the greatest show on turf. I got tremendous respect for you. Okay? Led second or third in reception touchdowns once. Led the league in reception yards once. Second or third in reception yards twice. No first team All-Pro selections, okay? If we were talking about an Andre Reed comparison, a Tim Brown comparison, or among some of those other guys that I've named, Isaac Bruce, I believe you remain firmly in the discussion. But in comparison to Randy Moss, it's not close. It's not close at all, okay? Terrell Owens, and this is probably the closest comparison that you're going to find. 5 first team All-Pro selections compared to 4. Okay? However, Randy Moss, according to Pro Football Reference, has at least been more valuable to his teams than Terrell Owens has been to his. Alright? Randy Moss has led the league in all-purpose touchdowns once. He's been on that leaderboard another 2 times. Terrell Owens can only claim to be second or third in all-purpose touchdowns once. Randy Moss has led the league in reception touchdowns 5 times. Terrell Owens has only led the league 3. Okay? Terrell Owens has been second or third in reception touchdowns 4 times. Randy Moss, second or third in reception touchdowns, in reception yards 5 times. Terrell Owens only once throughout his career. Ladies and gentlemen, it's close. It's close. It's a lot closer. But I think you know who has the edge. I think you know who had the better record of statistical leadership among those two. It's Randy Moss, hands down. Now, people are going to say, well, we made T.O. wait. T.O. should have gotten in, and I agree with you. I agree with you that Terrell Owens should have gotten in. But I also contend that it is never wrong to do right. And what's right in this situation is Randy Moss being a first ballot Hall of Famer. Okay? It's just because we messed up in the past, there's no excuse to mess up now. There's no excuse to mess up now. It is never wrong to do right. Randy Moss deserves to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I've talked about 10 of the 11 modern wide receivers that have been inducted into the Hall of Fame that have started their career post-1970. I want to talk about the 11th wide receiver real quick, ladies and gentlemen. You guys know who that is. That's none other than first ballot Hall of Famer Jerry Rice. Okay? To the Hall of Fame Selection Committee, or any other football fan or enthusiast out there, if you're a student of the game and you're holding Randy Moss to the standard of Jerry Rice, shame on you. Shame on you if you are holding Randy Moss to the standard of Jerry Rice. The only modern wide receiver to even begin to surpass Randy Moss in the record of statistical leadership is Jerry Rice. I admit it hands down. But I want you guys to pay attention to a very important fact, a very important reality. Randy Moss has only played 3 years with the Hall of Fame quarterback. Jerry Rice played 13 years with a Hall of Fame quarterback. What could Randy Moss have done with 13 years of a Hall of Famer throwing him the ball? Look where he's at. Look where he's at in comparison to Jerry. With just 3 years. Give him another 10? Give him another 10 of his best years. What could he have accomplished? I want to get into some per game averages as far as Jerry Rice and Randy Moss. Okay? Jerry Rice averaged 0.7 touchdowns a game in the regular season, 0.8 touchdowns a game in the playoffs. Randy Moss averaged 0.7 touchdowns a game in the regular season, 0.7 touchdowns per game in the playoffs. Let's look at yards. Jerry Rice averaged 75.6 yards a game in the regular season, 77.4 yards per game in the playoffs. Randy Moss, 70.1 yards in the regular, 65.1 in the playoffs. I mean, those are they're very close, especially the touchdowns. The touchdowns are virtually identical. Let's look at the receptions. Jerry Rice, 5.1 receptions in the regular season, 5.2 in the playoffs. Randy Moss, 4.5 receptions in the regular season, 3.6 receptions in the playoffs. If you look at yards per reception, Jerry Rice, 14.8 regular season, 14.9 playoffs. Randy Moss, 15.6 regular season, 18.1 playoffs. Ladies and gentlemen, Randy Moss showed up just as well as anyone. For him to be able to match those per game averages, to be as close as he is to Jerry Rice on a per game basis, on a per reception basis. All right? And Jerry Rice had significantly the better quarterbacks. Again, 13 years with the Hall of Famer. That's impressive in and of itself. Last but not least, this guy, this wide receiver, the only one to have a record of statistical accomplishment better than Randy Moss, all right, is also a guy who has admitted to circumventing the rules of the game, who has admitted out of his own mouth of upsetting the competitive balance on the field. That's the only guy ahead of Randy Moss. If you're going to hold him to the standard of a guy who has upset the competitive balance of the field, that has played with the Hall of Famer for 13 years. Shame on you. Shame on you. I've stated nothing but facts. I've stated nothing but facts. If you want to hold some of the statements that Randy Moss have had against him, I urge you to read Chris Carter's book, Going Deep. Chapter 9, I believe, offers great insight into Randy Moss and his personality and some of the statements that he has made over the years. I know some of you pundits have spent plenty of time this past year defending players whose words or actions have been taken out of context. I urge you not to do the same to Randy Moss. I urge you not to do the same to Randy Moss. Again, I've stated nothing but facts. Let me drop a few more little known nuggets. Randy Moss is the only other receiver outside of Jerry Rice to post 10 seasons of 1,000 reception yards. He's the only one. He's the only one. The greatest game I personally ever saw by a wide receiver. Randy Moss's rookie year, Thanksgiving Day against the Dallas Cowboys. 163 yards, 3 receptions, 3 touchdowns. Man, it just doesn't get any better than that. The 2013 Denver Broncos broke the record for the highest scoring offense in league history in 2013. The two teams to hold that record previously is none other than the 2007 New England Patriots and the 1998 Minnesota Vikings. The leading scorer on both those teams, Randy Moss. Randy Moss. I don't know how you don't say Randy Moss is a first ballot Hall of Famer. It's mind-boggling. Last but not least, in my estimation and in the estimation of many, Randy Moss changed the game. I once watched a Players Only special on NFL Network and Warren Sapp was explaining how Jerry Rice was like Zorro. He'll cut you 1,000 different ways before you know it, and that's great. Great wide receiver. Okay? But he said Randy Moss was like Excalibur. All it took. That's all it took. I remember Deion Sanders explaining the great battles that he would have with Jerry Rice, but how Randy Moss made you practice late. But how the coaches would have you back up 20 yards deep and still say, man, he's going to get behind you. Randy Moss and the deep threat, the deep ball going, blowing the back out the defense, that changed the game. We've always had route runners, but the deep threats that you've seen today, I don't know if we have them if there wasn't a Randy Moss. I don't know if we have them if it wasn't a Randy Moss, the Ted Ginn Jr.'s of the world, the Andre Johnsons, the Calvin Johnsons, if you will. Randy Moss helped usher that era in. He was the best of them. If you're an NFL fan, if you're a fan of football, if you're a fan of the Minnesota Vikings, share this video. Make sure the Hall of Fame Selection Committee sees this video. Let's make it known, okay? You can find this video on this YouTube channel, Just One Man's Opinion Sports Edition. On Facebook page, Just One Man's Opinion Sports Edition. You can follow on Twitter at JOMO Sports Ed. Okay? Let's do something. Let's get something right, people. Let's get something right. Hashtag Moss, first ballot Hall of Famer. Let's induct him tomorrow.